there's a process to get to where we want to go, and every day I'm tweaking it, tweaking it, tweaking it, tweaking it, tweaking it to make it just a little bit better. And for the most part, what I really try to do is I try to make it specific to that particular person or athlete. That's what I really try to do. And as you can see here in the video, Isaiah Monroe. I was looking at basketball the other day, looking at Isaiah Monroe and James Quigg. James has got a fight coming up in September, and he's taking on Alexander Keshtov. And Alexander is a 7-0 pro who is mean. This guy is a beast. And you know, I had a training session the other morning with James, and he was late, you know, to the session. You know, and then granted, sometimes we stay late at the gym, so you can't expect a guy to be up at 10 o'clock after a hard session and then back up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But nonetheless, I had to adjust my training program according to the time that we didn't have. And that's an example right there of why you train a fighter from scratch. I've been with James since his first amateur fight and up to this point. So James and I have always had problems to deal with, always had problems to overcome. And because you have these problems, you get better day in and day out. You learn more and more about the person, and you learn to kind of compensate for the shortcomings on both sides. Because I have shortcomings as well. Things that I do that I know I have to get over. Sometimes when fighters show a lack of interest, rather than me sitting down and having that conversation and communicating with them about that lack of interest, I tend to shut down and shut them off. And that's somewhat unfair. You know what I mean? That's unfair because that doesn't get us closer to our goal. If the fighter doesn't show up to the gym and I decide to shut my mind off from the fighter and don't train them, we don't get closer to the goal. So there's always things you need to learn by working with an athlete, and that's why I encourage every coach out there that is interested in training anyone in anything, start with someone just for your own education. Start with someone who has never ever done it before, because you're the coach, so you should already have some understanding of what that path looks like. So I'm not saying use the person as a guinea pig, but what I'm saying is let it be natural, a natural relationship. You have no idea where it's going to go. Train that fighter from the beginning. Let their natural problems just exist. I used to have one fighter who he had a car, but it always wasn't in the best shape, and so I would go pick him up and bring him to the gym with me. Now, like I said, he had a car, so every so often the car would work. But what I discovered was that the fighter he got used to me. The fighter got used to my discount. In other words, I was discounting his gas. So he started to only come to the gym whenever I picked him up. And something I had to learn from Alexander Banks, who refers to himself as one of my junior coaches, and I actually love that phrase. I can't want it more than they want it. And that's something you're going to have to learn as a coach. You can't want the success for the fighter or the athlete or the student or the mentee. You can't want the success more than they want it. It's not going to work out. Because if they become dependent on you only for, whatever discount that you're giving them, whether it be extra teaching on the side, whether it be a ride to the gym, whether it be equipment. Paris Artist just about owns all of my clothing. I think he's wearing some of my, let me see in this video right here. Yeah, he's wearing some of my clothing. So, you sacrifice a lot, but you can't sacrifice so much to the point where the fighter has no responsibility for himself. But like I said, that's why you go through these situations with a fighter from scratch. You're looking at Paris, I've trained him from scratch. You're looking at James, I've trained him from scratch. Isaiah's in the video, I trained him from scratch. So I have a whole host of problems with these guys that I've learned to adapt to, that I've gotten used to, and I figured out along the way, and they're still here, and I'm still here.